For most people, Christmas 2017 is going to be about presents under the tree, too much turkey and grandma falling asleep in front of Wallace and Gromit. But for the games industry, it's about a huge battle between 3 new titles for the new Xbox and PlayStation consoles. In the red corner is Gran Turismo Sport. First released in 1997, it's only available for PlayStation but has sold over 76.9 million copies over the subsequent 20 years and is seen as one of Sony's most precious games titles. Traditionally, the focus has been on the single-player GT mode where you buy a cheap used car to race and use prize money to modify it and rise up the racing ranks. It still has those career elements, albeit repackaged, but is now focused just as much on online multiplayer racing with the first esports series approved by the FIA, motorsport's governing body. In the blue corner is Forza Motorsport 7, the latest in the franchise, designed to take on Gran Turismo for Xbox owners. It arrived in the mid-noughties and quickly picked up scores of awards, offering genre-leading graphics and fun gameplay. Now available on PC as well, it offers a massive roster of around 700 cars. And in another corner that's, say, yellow probably, is Project Cars 2, a young upstart from a small UK developer that harnessed crowdsourcing to help develop its first game. That helped it set a new benchmark for graphics. Some found it to be one of the most realistic console races on the market, as well as one of the most beautiful. All 3 games are now available to play in stunning 4K resolution and harness HDR, that's high dynamic range to you and me, technology that means its contrast between light and dark is spectacular. Just look at those sunlight effects. But which one should you be spending your cash on this Christmas? There's only one way to find out. Get them all into one room at once and find some experts to try them for size. First up is Will Tregurtha, a rising star of motor racing who won the Ginetta Junior Championship last year and then went straight on to win a British GT4 Championship on his first attempt this year. He hones his skills at home with the iRacer Sim for PC, so he should know a thing or two about these cars in real life and virtually. And we have Robin Cope, editor of thevideogames.co.uk. He's obsessed with gaming, knows the Forza series inside out, and spends an unreasonable amount of time behind a control pad. So we've all had a go on the game with control pads and with wheels on each of them. What do we think? Let's start with just the look of the games first off. Can you see any difference?
There's visually some difference in decals on certain games for these ones as well. You've got little details, for instance, in the Escorts on Forza where you've got the little clocks, the little horn buttons and things like that. But then the detail that's gone into Gran Turismo is also phenomenal. You can't even tell if the pictures are real or in-game.
Sometimes it's incredible. And we haven't even got HDR 4K TVs here, but it still looks pretty incredible. But so, I would say for me, it's pretty hard to tell.
It is hard to tell, definitely. It's a close call, I'd probably say, between GT and Forza out of the 2 of them.
Were you impressed then?
I was really impressed with Gran Turismo, to be honest. Those still shots you can see there, you can't tell if it's real or not. It really, really impressed me.
And you're used to iRacer at home?
Yeah. So Forza as well that impressed me quite a lot. Project Cars is the graphics are still really good, but you've got more of those kind of elements in there. So you've got the sun glare and things coming through the windscreen. So there's more kind of effects in Project Cars, whereas the other 2, I think, smoother, and that's the reason why you can't really tell whether it's real life or not.
Yeah.
You really
in Gran Turismo?
In Gran Turismo. For Project Cars, the features are really good. So there's a lot of aspects to it that you can certainly customizing with the career as well. You can select all your different paths, and you've got multiple careers at the same time as well. Whereas Gran Turismo, you've not got that option as much really. So in Project Cars, you can select all your different disciplines. You can have different careers for each one. So if you want to do rallycross one day and you want to do endurance racing the next, you can do that. And that's a really good feature, I think. And there's also, within all of the careers as well, there's all the different aspects. So you've got all your team managers, there's even social media feeds and everything, so you can see how your racing is impacting the game, the progression through it. So you've got your allegiances to manufacturers and everything. That really gives it a better aspect. But even Gran Turismo is starting to kind of put that into it as well. Forza's a bit more kind of your classic arcadey style.
They generalise it, and you've got to go through each tournament in sections.
Yeah.
But it's got bonuses as well,
Yeah.
hasn't it? So you kind of you move through it a bit more sporadically, but it's a really fun career, I think.
Yeah.
Through that way.
And GT Sport, a lot of people were a little bit annoyed that they thought GT mode is gone, and GT mode has gone because that was great because you start with 20 grand or something, and you have to buy a Del Sol and then modify it and win races, and you have to keep customizing it and refining it, and then you work your way up to better and better cars, and that seemed to have gone. But there's a thing called Mission Challenge where you can do increasingly more difficult tasks, and then you win bonuses, and then you can sort of modify your cars, and you have got a garage. So they say that it's all still there. Were you convinced?
In some aspects with it, yes. I like the whole challenges and missions and so forth. I like something to go for, not just necessarily racing around the track. It's nice to have that sense of achievement. And obviously the GT mode done that for us. So there is some aspects to it there, but I couldn't really see it fully to its full potential. So whether it come down the line as an add-on, as a lot of games do these days, it's hard to say really at the moment.
It definitely makes you. GT Sport definitely makes you work for it in a way that certainly Forza doesn't. Forza, you can sort of jump into it and start playing with these incredible selection of amazing cars. Yeah,
you can rent them from the garage, or if you've got the credits in there, you can buy them. Your driver tire earns money as you're not even there. For instance, in the time you log back in, you've earned some money from your driver tire appearing in other people's games and in races and so forth. So that your credit will always build up even if you're not there. So you can actually purchase stuff. Yeah. And you don't have to spend real money for that.
One of the things that they've introduced on GT Sport now is the sport mode. So they've got the first FIA accredited championship, which obviously that might be of interest to you.
Yeah, the esports thing is growing, especially in motorsport, is growing so fast, and prize funds are going through the roof. So in that aspect, yeah, it's really good, and I'd really like to see what kind of competitions in it. That is a big plus. I know a lot of people in kind of the esport community are really kind of looking forward to Gran Turismo to see what it's going to offer.
Yeah, I did have a go at the multiplayer online, and it's pretty smooth. And I was well. I qualified for 8 minutes, and then it ranks you against things. I'd qualified third on the grid, and then it was at Brands, and it was all the same cars, and it was
quite taken out.
And I got taken out, but I came back and finished fifth, so it was fine. But one of the good things about that, actually, that they've introduced on Gran Turismo is that they've got now an etiquette thing, so you score points for your racing etiquette.
Well, before you went on there, you had to do 2 courses, didn't you?
I had to watch 2 videos, yeah. like I was going back to school. But that was quite interesting, I think, because that's one of the things that I never play online pretty much of any game, because there's always people out there who are either better than you or just want to spend their time taking it out.
I'd probably be honest with you there. We've got quite a close community on the video games and that, so we all play together. And we do have a few other people that come in and we do competitions and so forth, but we tend to, when we play race together, there's always a bit of fun element to it. But there's also the serious side. We won't necessarily go straight into a corner and smash someone out of the way, which you do find a lot of time with randoms online.
Yeah,
it's just one of the ways, unfortunately, that happens these days.
Yeah. So obviously you are a racing driver. So what was your sort of impression of the handling of each car?
So for GT Sport, I think that was a good base. GT Sport, the whole Gran Turismo franchise, has always had this kind of feel where everything's almost a bit slowed down and a bit more methodical, but it's definitely an improvement in GT Sport. It's the steering is a lot better. So when you were steering in Gran Turismo 6, for example, if you had the steering wheel like that, it wouldn't be like that on the steering wheel in the game. Whereas GT Sport's fixed that, and the steering rotation is really good. So it's 1-to-1 on the screen and on your steering wheel, right in front of you. So in terms of that, it's really good. The force feedback was there as well. It's perhaps not as detailed as Project Cars, or even Forza. Forza surprised me as well.
Yeah, I was driving a Aston Martin DBR1 in Forza. I love driving the classics, and certainly with this steering wheel and pedal setup, it was so sensitive. You have to just lightly touch the brake, otherwise you're going to send your car into a skid.
Yeah, the Thrustmaster stuff is great. The TX one for this, with the Ferrari 458 Spider one, is great. The force feedback on it, you feel every bump and every nook and cranny in it in all the driving games on them. So the wheels definitely make an improvement to the game.
You really have to remember that each game's set up differently in the way that it controls it. So Project Cars, it's going to be a lot harder with the pad. I had to play around with the settings a lot to get it even drivable. But with the steering wheel, it's really good. What you have to remember is that obviously the better steering wheel we have, the better it's going to feel. So Gran Turismo and Forza were definitely a lot more plug and play. It didn't really matter which steering wheel we had.
Yeah.
Whereas Project Cars with the T150, there's a little bit of a dead zone, which the TX doesn't have. Each of the games you can fine tune the setup. Forza not so much. Gran Turismo, you've got the setup page. It's all nice. It's there. You know what you're changing.
You've got sort of differentials, aero.
Yeah, absolutely everything. And then Project Cars, for me, because it's more biased towards the simulation side instead of arcade, it does bring it into the setup bit a bit more. So you've got more options, and you've got a little help tab as well that tells you which kind of setup option is going to do what, and you can feel the changes a bit more. So for me, that was really good.
Yeah.
And the way that Project Cars drives when you've changed the setup really helps as well.
Forza's more in depth. You have to go into each individual car and tune it exactly how you want it by putting different parts on, tuning your gear ratio, your front brake bias, back brake bias, the whole lot. So it's more in depth, in fact, from that side of things than GT goes to. When you're saying the setup, just plug and play and go, yeah, GT Sport has the edge, no doubt, because you just go through the main menu.
Yeah.
But if you do have more time and you want to spend more time and dig into the game further, Forza's got that as well. So,
Will, what do you think? Third place?
For me, first place for realism for me is Project Cars, and then it's a really, really tight between Gran Turismo and Forza. But I'd probably go with Gran Turismo.
In second place?
Yeah,
okay.
Simply for the fact that it's improved so much and all the details there.
Yeah,
it's more plug and play realism, whereas Forza's got kind of the car building, and you can do that. I really enjoy that.
yeah.
It's just I'd prefer the realism side of it.
And what about you, Robin?
For me, in third, I'll put Project Cars, but then I'm more of a plug and play type of racer. I like to just pick up and go. It's quite in depth, and you know, if you haven't got the steering wheel and everything else like that, you can't do that with Project Cars for me. Second, it is a close call between GT Sport and Forza. I would probably just, it's literally by a fraction. I put GT in second and Forza in first. At the moment, for me, I'd say Forza just pips it literally by a split second.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you've turned it on its head. So
Yeah.
GT's got 2 second places there, and a win for Forza and a win for Project Cars. So I guess I get the deciding vote.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you on the. I like to sort of just pick it up and start playing. And I found with Gran Turismo, it was too easy at first, and then I had to sort of switch off all the driver aids, switch off all that stuff, put it in manual, and suddenly it just felt really good to me.
It feels right.
But with Project Cars, I was just really struggling from the off, especially if you try and play it with the control pad, and I think that's just
Even
it's a bit sort of next level for me, really, in terms of games. So I would have to put Project Cars 2 in third place. And it's so difficult now to choose between Gran Turismo and Forza. I love the fact there's 700 cars thereabouts in Forza, and you can pretty much pick up any of them straight away.
Yeah, you can rent them from the garage.
Pickup trucks and crazy stuff, Ken Block types things. It is tough to decide. Maybe the clincher is the online FIA Championship for me. I'm quite excited about that, and having seen a demonstration of sort of networks racing when I went to the launch. I've been to the launch of all 3 of these now. network racing in Italy, I was so impressed with how exciting that was.
Yeah.
And so I think Gran Turismo top step for me, which
Completely throws it all out, doesn't it?
it does throw it all out. So I mean,
But the more consistent one, I suppose, would be GT there, wouldn't it?
Mm.
So
I think
overall-
Gran Turismo's got 2 seconds and a first. So pretty good.
There you
I
go.
think the conclusion might be that they're all really, really good. They're all good fun.
Yeah.